Hello, Rebel, and welcome back to my life. So it occurs to me that I don't know if I've ever explicitly talked about the goals of legacy books. Granted, a few weeks ago I made a video telling you about my goals for 2020, but in terms of like the big, broad, overall goals of legacy books as a company, I haven't talked all that much about it specifically. And having your goals clearly set out and defined is important because it helps you check whether you're on track for what you want to achieve or whether you're drifting away from what you really want. There's an old piece of advice that you have to keep your eye on the mountain to stay on course. Even when you're getting lost in the wilderness, the mountain will keep you oriented. But to keep your eye on the mountain, you have to have a mountain. And that is what a goal is. It's the big, broad, long-term thing you're keeping your eye on, as opposed to like a target, which is a short-term step you're taking on the road to achieving your goal. So normally when you hear me talking about things I'm trying to achieve, they're usually expressed in terms of numbers. I want to produce this amount of hours this year, or I want to write this many words per day, or I want to publish this many books. Those are targets, and that's why they're expressed in numbers. A goal is usually a bit more nebulous. It's more of a state of being than a tangible thing that you can have and quantify. So with that laid out as a framework, let's look at the goals of legacy books. The first goal is to create an ever-expanding fantasy universe that readers love to visit and authors love to write it. Underrealm isn't a book series, it's a world, and it's a world that I want to keep growing and expanding upon for the rest of my life. But I want it to last even longer than that. I want Underrealm to be around long after I die. I do mean ever expanding, which is why it's so important to get other people involved in the creation of Underrealm. Like bringing it back down to the level of specific targets, it would be perfectly acceptable to me to come out with a new Underrealm book every month. It would be great to have one every week. It would be great to have multiple new books every week. No, I cannot write that much. And yes, that would mean that most people can't read every new Underrealm book that comes out. And that's actually great. It's totally in alignment with my goal. I always want there to be more Underrealm for people to explore, more new stories, more awesome characters for them to fall in love with. I want different people to have different favorite series and different favorite characters and like, oh no, I haven't read that series yet because I've really been focused on this one or these two, but I'm going to get to it one day and then I want to read that one and all that sort of stuff. Because that's the only way to take a single book series and turn it into a world. It has to feel bigger than any one person can reasonably expect to experience in their lifetime, because that's the way the real world is. And if you are someone who wants to create fantasy, then one day I want to talk to you about it. I want you to feel welcome in this world, and I want you to get to the point where we can work together and you can tell awesome stories in this awesome fantasy universe that we are creating together. Goal number 2. I honestly and unironically want the creations of legacy books to make the world a better place. Okay, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. Many things exist just to be entertaining, and that's fine. I enjoy a lot of them. And I certainly hope that everything Legacy Books ever creates is entertaining in its own right. But I also want everything Legacy Books creates to be more than just entertaining. I want it to mean something, and I want it to be a step towards making the world a better place. I want Legacy to do its own small part to help a revolution in media that improves representation and actually stands for something when it comes to issues of social justice and equality, and I want it to make people's lives better by making them happier. And I am fully conscious that this goal might be the one thing that holds Legacy back from growing as big as a company like Disney or Marvel Studios. But you'll notice that I have not and will not list that as a goal of Legacy Books. I don't have a goal for the company to get so incredibly large and accumulate so much money that it becomes more powerful than many nations across the world. And trust me, over the years, I've experienced firsthand how this goal all by itself can restrict growth. Every day I get nasty comments on my social justice videos here on YouTube from people who promise that they'll never read anything I write. And every day I get horrible reviews on Amazon and Facebook from people who say that I'm just pushing an agenda or virtue signaling, whatever that means this week, and trying desperately to convince anyone who will listen that I am evil and a major player in the downfall of the West. Those people will never read my books, but they will read more mainstream things like Marvel and Star Wars that either don't care about these issues or keep it well hidden behind what they hope is a neutral face. A neutral face that I don't want to wear. That's just not a life I'm willing to live. I want to be doing as much as I can to improve the world around me, and I never want to feel like I withheld myself from making the world better in order to make just a little bit more money. Which brings us neatly to goal number 3. I want Legacy Books as a company to also make the world a better place. It's all well and good for the actual books to improve things in the world, but that doesn't mean much if Legacy Books isn't doing the same thing as a company. I want Legacy Books to be as fair and generous to its employees and creators as it possibly can be. I don't ever want it to be about putting as much money in my pocket as possible. I want Legacy to provide good jobs and a fulfilling creative outlet to as many people as I can, including myself. And no matter how successful the company gets, I want everyone involved to share in that success. Obviously, in this respect, it's a long road. There's no harmless consumption under capitalism, and there's no harmless creation either. I mean, as the most obvious example of this, right now Legacy has to work with Amazon just to accomplish any of its aims in the world, to exist. And that's not ideal. But you know what? That won't always be the case. If we can stick the road, we can keep improving every step of the way and always try to provide more help while doing less harm. And the fourth and final goal is a simple one: to make all the benefits of Legacy available to as many people as possible. This is an important one to me. Most publishers out there don't seem to care about people who are unable to access their books for whatever reason. And I guess that makes sense if you're a publisher who's in the game to make money. If that's your goal, then all you care about is the people who can give you money for your product. That's just sensible. But again, Legacy isn't about making money. It's about making the world better and improving people's lives, even if it only improves them by making them happy or making them feel seen. Like, if we're honestly trying to help people, and if I honestly believe that what I'm doing and the projects I'm working on, solo and with other authors, are helping people, literally and unironically, I just can't turn around and say, okay, but you can only have this if you can pay me enough. I mean, that's how you get the American healthcare system. And you might be thinking, okay, but Garrett, you can't just toss everything out there for free because you're going to starve to death, and that's not fair to your authors either. So first of all, my central business plan is not to throw everything out there for free. Things cost money to make, and they deserve money in exchange. And the simple transaction of money between people does not even constitute capitalism, much less hyper-destructive late-stage capitalism. But beyond that, I do believe in the principle and the model of selective community support, the model of companies like Patreon and other similar companies. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. If I was receiving $10,000 a month from Patreon, I would put all my books out for free. I want as many people to enjoy them as possible. So you know that my books are representative and that I think that's important. I'm not just saying that to encourage you to give me money. Like, bottom line, that would be a terrible marketing strategy, because with the way our society treats marginalized people, they're usually the ones with the least disposable income to throw at artists like myself. If I think I can write a book that can be a source of comfort and emotional support to trans people, for example, why should I deny that support to a trans teenager who's homeless right now because his shitty parents kicked him out? I know he can't pay for the book. That's why he needs it, so he can have something in his life that isn't as screwed up as his living situation. And I believe, and I have to believe, that I can find a way to use my work to help him and millions of people like him and millions of people very different from him. And that I can, in time, earn enough support from others in my community, people who have enough to spare, that I don't have to withhold that help from him because society has already made his life hard enough. And as with most of these goals, I'm not there yet. That's why they're goals. I do have to sell everything that I make in order to keep the house around me, to keep the lights on, to feed myself and my family. But these goals are what I'm always working towards. And when I achieve them, I hope I'm smart enough to see the next goal that's going to keep improving the way I work and the way I interact with the world. So there are the goals of Legacy Books. They might sound a bit grandiose to you, and they probably are. It's just that I would feel kind of crappy if in my wildest dreams that I was settling for less than what I thought I could one day achieve to making the world better. I'm always working on these goals. I have been for 4 years. I'm usually imperfect in my pursuit of them. I have stumbled and I have badly messed up more than once, because I am just a person and I am not some special genius or some guy who has it all figured out. I don't think those people exist, but I am pretty proud to say that despite my screw-ups, I've more or less stuck to my guns on what I want to achieve. And I have turned down many, many opportunities when I felt like they would have steered me away from these goals. I have stopped working with people and with companies who I thought were more concerned with profit than the effects they were having on others. And I have turned down a really good amount of business connections and outright refused money from people who wanted me to feel beholden to them and wanted me to tone down everything I was doing. Rebel, you probably don't realize it, but you help me achieve these goals every day by being here, by watching my videos, by reading my books. And I don't want you to feel obligated to do any more than that. But if you do want to help me get where I'm trying to go faster, there is always a Patreon link in the description of every one of my videos. Every bit of extra support I receive from a small percentage of this admittedly small community enables me to create so much more and constantly do so much more for others in the community who aren't able to give that support. And if you're one of those people, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for letting me try to help you and others. If you're looking for a way to contribute other than with dollar signs, cause you can't, that's fine. Maybe just share a book or a video with your friends every once in a while. Not every video, I mean, let's face it, some of them kind of suck. Who goes on a rant for a total of 25 minutes about Discord? But if you see a video that resonates with you or that you think is particularly important, maybe just post it for your friends to see. You can share this video if you want, and I'd be grateful if you did. You really can't imagine how little actions like that can add up. If nothing else, they make my day, and that means everything, because that's what I'm always trying to do for you. So this is the part where I want to hear from you, Rebel, and today I have a pretty specific question. Did you already know about these goals of legacy books? Have you heard me allude to these goals before, so you were sort of aware of them? Did anything on this list surprise you? And most importantly, what do you think? Are there other things you think we should be doing or you wish we were doing? Drop a comment and let me know. And that is all I've got for you today, Rebel. I want to thank my supporters on Patreon who are scrolling below my face. If you want to be one of those awesome and incredibly attractive individuals, like I said, click on the Patreon link in the description of this and every video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Friday. Bye!